Good evening, YouTube. I'm here at work on my last job of the night, and today I want to talk about pro-slavery arguments. And the reason I want to talk about slavery or arguments in favor of slavery is because I use slavery as an analogy for my immigration topic, or in comparison to immigration. And I received a few comments on my immigration video of people trying to still justify their anti-immigration beliefs. And so I want to put the same arguments that they're using against immigration and compare those to slavery. And the reason why is because you can't really justify slavery. It's the act of it is so bad that any argument kind of fails. And so I have like the three arguments that people commented on my immigration video. One of them is the economy. Now let's say that in the 1800s here in the United States, when slavery was legal, if the slave owners said they didn't want to legalize slavery because it was bad for the economy, that by removing slave labor and paying people to actually work, it would cause inflation and the price of goods would go up. Therefore, we should have slavery. Now, obviously, that's not a good argument, because trying to justify keeping people as slaves, removing their freedom, it's not the economy is not good justification. It's good for the rich people, but for the slave, that's not a good justification for them to be slaves. And then they use that the economy as an argument in favor against immigrants, because they're saying that an influx of immigrants will negatively affect the economy, which I'm not sure if it's true. But even if it was true, that shouldn't be reason enough to deny people the right to live and work where they want to, because of where they were born on Earth, because of geographic discrimination. Just like discriminating against someone because of their skin color, something they have no choice in making. They were just born that skin color. Same thing with geography. You were just born on a certain part of Earth. You had no choice in that making. Again, so to discriminate against you because of wherever you were born, it's ridiculous. And to justify just because of the economy, because saying, oh well, the economy might be affected, therefore we should deny you movement or the ability to live or work somewhere. It doesn't. It's not a good argument. The next argument was the housing market. Again, with slavery. Let's say people were to argue, hey, by releasing all these slaves, the housing market it's going to be affected. All these people are going to want a place to live. It's gonna increase the value of homes, and it's going to affect the housing market. Therefore, we should have slavery. Again, not a good argument. They shouldn't be slaves shouldn't be to blame because of this, and they shouldn't be kept as slaves because of to keep the housing market down. Again, same with immigrants. One of the comments argue that if immigrants would come here to the United States, the housing market would be negative, would be affected in a bad light. And again, that's not that's not a good argument to keep people away. And actually though, if you think about it, an increase in immigration is usually, it should be good for the economy, because you got more people who want to live in an area, which increases the demand for new houses. So you have to build more houses, which is good for the economy, because now you have everything to build a house, the labor, that goes into it, with electrical, plumbing, all the construction work. It moves the economy. It creates so many jobs. Having an increase in population is generally good for the economy. So I don't know where people are kind of getting their data saying that that's going to be bad for the economy and bad for the housing market. Yes, with more people buying homes, does and supply and demand. If there's less homes, of course things are going to go up to a point until the demand is met. But again, is that justification enough to discriminate against a person, to remove their rights, or not give them rights because of the economy or because of the housing market? Just like slavery, it's not a good argument. And the last one was population control. One person argued that by allowing immigrants to come here, it's gonna lead to overpopulation. Overpopulation has been an argument here in the United States since the 1800s. I remember when I was in college, there was the argument that we were overpopulated back in the 1800s, and which obviously the population has, I don't know, increased by I don't know how many times since then. And one thing that I always argue with the overpopulation is, what is the number that we should be to not be overpopulated? If you're gonna say something, it's like, let's say I'm at a restaurant, and we have a number that says, hey, this is the fire chief said you can have only 100 customers here, and after that you're over the limit. When it comes to overpopulation, is where's the number, and how did you come up with that number? That way I could say, okay, this is the number, the max number that we could get before we become overpopulated. And if you don't have a number, then how can you say, oh, it's going to lead to overpopulation? Well, what if the number is, I don't know, 100 billion, a crazy number? Unless you have a number, you can't argue for overpopulation. Second is, again, with slavery, would that have been a good argument in favor of keeping slavery, saying, well, without a slave master controlling the population of their slaves, it's going to lead to an overpopulation of people? Obviously, again, that's not a good argument to justify slavery. So why should it be a good argument to regulate immigration? And again, we live in people are going to live on this planet regardless. Even if they're not in the United States, they're still going to be alive. So we're not if the population is over, what you consider overpopulation is, it's what's the Earth's population? What should that be at? Because just because a person isn't living in the United States doesn't mean they're still not living on Earth. We're not in how do you say? I'm not sure how to say this. We're all still on the same planet. It still affects us all. So by not allowing somebody in the United States, it doesn't kill them or destroy them. They're still going to be alive. They're still affecting the planets. Yeah, so that's basically it. I still haven't heard a good argument in favor of the current immigration policy. And all the comments that I've received, I received too, none of them really addressed the question that I asked, which was, if you were an immigrant, if you were born outside the United States, in a country that was at war, or what's in or in rampant dictatorship, or was you're in a position where your life is at risk, would you leave or would you stay? Just to see if you're a hypocrite. No one wants to answer that question. It's, what would you do in that position? Again, it's like being a slave. What would you do if you were born a slave? Would you just say, well, I'm going to follow the law and I'm going to be a slave for the rest of my life? Or would you rebel? Would you run to a free state? Before we ask, should we end slavery or should we not? It's like, what would you do if you're in their position? Again, with immigration, what would you do if you're in that spot? And then try to justify, see if you can still justify whatever law you want to put in place, and see if it holds any value. Again, when are we gonna grow up and say to discriminate against a person because of the color of their skin is stupid? It's also stupid to discriminate against a person because of where on earth they were born. Okay, you were born on this part of on this chunk of dirt, you're okay. But if you're born on this chunk of dirt, sorry, you don't get any of these rights. It's like, hey, I didn't have no choice in that. So it's an old way of thinking. We gotta advance as people and not discriminate against others because of the piece of dirt they were born in. I don't know. So again, I'll ask, what's a good argument against immigration? What's a good against immigration, and what's a good argument in favor of slavery? Because there probably isn't one. All right, then. Till next time.